Hellboy movie review. So I have to confess that when this movie first came out, I was not interested in it at all. I didn't know anything about it. I just heard the name Hellboy and I thought, oh, this is one of those stupid, edgy movies that's trying to be all dark and satanic and stuff like that. I mean, I knew it was based off of a comic book character, but I thought it was one of those edgy comic book characters. It just really had no interest in it. But began to hear more and more about it as the director, what's his name? Guillermo del Toro, started getting more and more good publicity. Like once Pan's Labyrinth came out, and that was very well reviewed and got a lot of good publicity. I started hearing a lot of the reviews favorably compare it to Hellboy. And I was like, well, Hellboy, is that actually worth seeing? And then Hellboy 2 came out and it was in theaters and got a number of really good reviews, and all the reviewers were referencing back to how brilliant Hellboy 1 had been. And at that point I realized that I had missed out and it was actually time to see this movie. So rented it from the video store and yeah, here I am with the review. It's an interesting concept, Hellboy, and I don't want to get too theological here because this is going to miss the whole point of the movie. But there's that hint of it here, so I'm going to go off on a brief digression. The basic concept of the movie is that there's a demon who's taken from hell as a baby and raised up by humans to be good, and then ends up working for the FBI. And it raises the question, do demons have free will? This is another bit of a tangent, but I remember getting in a conversation with a theology major back in college who was telling me that the Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil, was actually a deep theological song. The whole notion of, can we have sympathy for the devil? Or, is the devil beyond redemption? Or could the devil actually repent and accept God's forgiveness? It's a bit strange when you think about it. Because, we think of like the angels are good and the demons are evil. And then there's the humans who have free will. But, the angels and demons are on a higher plane of existence than humans, right? They're more powerful creatures, more complex creatures. Do they not have free will? I guess this was never in the Bible explicitly, but according to Milton and stuff like that in Christian tradition, demons are fallen angels, meaning they did make a choice at one point to rebel against God. That's not in the Bible. I think that's just later church tradition and Milton and stuff like that. But then can the demons or can Satan himself, if they have the power to rebel against God, do they have the power to repent? It's just one of those little things that if you think about it, raises all sorts of bizarre questions, and nobody ever talks about this in church. At least not when I was growing up. Not at the church I went to. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on that because the movie doesn't spend too much time on it. But the very premise of the movie hints at this question, so it's interesting. Alright, I've not read the comic on which this is based on, so I don't know how much of the story is a credit to the screenwriters or the director, how much comes from the original comic, but right from the beginning, the story is wonderfully bizarre. It's during World War II. The Nazis are working on a top secret project to summon the powers of hell. They are interrupted by US soldiers accompanied by a somewhat eccentric Catholic scientist who specializes in the paranormal. The demon who is summoned is only a baby at the time, is found by the US Army and brought up to be on the side of good, and he becomes a crime fighter for the FBI. Now, one of the things that makes this movie different than your average superhero movie is that the title character doesn't hog all the screen time. So the movie is called Hellboy, but it's not really about Hellboy, or not about Hellboy only. The story is much more about the team than Hellboy himself, which includes the paranormal scientist who finds Hellboy in the first place, the mysterious Aquaman named Abe Sapien, the fire girl, Liz Sherman, and the young FBI agent who is newly transferred into the Bureau of Paranormal Activities and has no idea what he is getting into. The action sequences in this movie are okay. They're not great. The best thing about this movie is the characters, not the action. The action sequences are okay, but they're not special. In fact, since Hellboy is repeatedly fighting the same demon throughout the film, the Hound of Resurrection, who repeatedly gets resurrected again, no matter how many times Hellboy manages to kill him, the action sequences can get a bit repetitive. The real draw of this movie is the fantastically bizarre creatures who populate the world. After seeing this movie, I am now looking forward to seeing Hellboy 2, and I'll come back with my review of that once I've seen it.